Hey guys, this is Jeremy with Favorites Barbecue Company. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about leftover brisket. And today I'm going to introduce you guys to three main ingredients to great leftover barbecue meals. Number one, the first thing that we always need is some of our leftover smoked brisket. This has been in the freezer. I've let it thaw out. We're getting pretty thawed. It's still cold, but that's fine for what we're going to do with it today. The other two key ingredients to pretty much anything related to brisket is onions and peppers. Today we're going to use a poblano pepper, but I also love using jalapenos. You can use a pepper of your choice. But there's a lot of great recipes that come out of this. And I just believe that brisket and onion and peppers work so well together in so many different recipes. All right, so the bread of our brisket bombers is going to be from these yeast rolls. So these have been sitting out for about 2 hours now. So they'll continue to soften up and continue to rise a little bit on their own. They need about another hour or so to rise and get soft enough to where we can start manipulating them. But this is what they look like about 2 hours in. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to dice up our onions and we need to dice up our peppers. Again, pepper of your choice. We're going with poblano today, basically just because that was all available at the grocery store. And I think that poblano is going to go well with the dish that we're preparing today. One thing to be aware of is you don't want to cut your peppers too fine. You want to be able to taste it. You want to be able to feel that crunch when you bite into the brisket bomber. So just be aware of how fine you're cutting up your peppers. All right, here we are. Just put a little bit of oil in our pan. We're gonna let that get nice and hot. Once that gets hot, we're gonna put our onions in there. We're gonna put our peppers in there. And we're gonna let the oils from the peppers mix with the onions. Let those smells really come alive. And we're gonna take those and we're gonna combine them into our brisket and then let the fat within the meat combine with the oils. Put that in the oven, let those things cook and kind of mend together there, and then we'll go from there with stuffing our brisket bomber. So, man, I wish y'all could smell the oil heating up. So here we are, cook them down just a little bit. Don't want to cook them down too much because they're going to get put back in the oven with the brisket, and then also go back in the oven a second time with our brisket bomber. So we don't want to cook them too much. But all we're going to do is we're going to turn the heat off, and now we're going to take it and we're just going to put it right here in our pan. Now, I prefer using like a Kansas City sticky, sweet kind of barbecue sauce. We have a house-made barbecue sauce that we use most of the time, but don't ever underestimate the power of Sweet Baby Ray's. We love Sweet Baby Ray's. So, as a typical barbecue chef does, I precisely measure this out. Seems just about right. Mix it all together. All right, the last thing that we're gonna put on our meat before we put it in the oven is a little bit of our blue rub, which is our traditional Texas style rub. So again, precisely measure it out. A little bit of garlic in here, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, plus another couple great savory spices. That looks about right. Again, our blue rub, you can find it at favoritesbarbecue.com. Phenomenal. Works really well on a lot of meats and a lot of other things. So again, mix that in there. Oh man, it smells so good. All right, here we are. Just went 350 for about 20 minutes. You can see it kind of looking nice and pretty in there. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take the lid off of it, put it back in the oven, and let the brisket caramelize a little bit with that sauce in there. And we'll pull it back out and be ready to stuff. We're gonna take our yeast roll. It's been sitting out for a little while. We're gonna dump it in a little flour, put it on a press it down. This is just an 8-inch press here. Take it and that evenly distributes the dough. So start stretching it out slightly, patiently, allowing for an even distribution of this dough here. We don't want any tears in the dough here. If it gets a little difficult to work with, put a little flour on it and you're still alive, ready to rock and roll with it. So we get it stretched out just a little bit. You see that? Put it right here on our cutting board. Take just a little bit. I'm using just a regular household spoon here. Take a little bit of that brisket. Man, it smells good. Secret ingredient, shredded cheddar cheese. Dip it right there on top. Now, we take all that deliciousness and we just stretch that roll out a little bit, and you can see, I'm just pinching it together right here. Oh yeah. A little bit poking out there. You know what? Get back in there. Stuff it in there. It's the beauty of these. pinch it closed, which you can see, shape it a little bit. You can see what that looks like. So we put that on the pan. Make sure you space it about 2 inches apart from the other ones. And you grab your next one and repeat. All right, so we have a pan full. You can see what that looks like sitting on the pan. Man, it looks so good. Now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of our, just some melted butter. We're gonna put it right on top of these rolls here to allow those rolls to get nice and brown. That's what we're looking for. Add a little flavor to them as well, another layer of flavor. But another reason why we want to add a little bit of butter to these is because we want to add something for our blue rub to bind to. Of course, blue rub, you can get it at favoritesbarbecue.com. Take that blue rub and sprinkle a little bit of blue rub right on top of those rolls. Man, add a nice little kick to it. Just a dab will do ya. Blue rub, Texas traditional style rub. Now these are gonna go in the oven, a 350-degree oven, just like we did with the brisket, for about 15 minutes or until the rolls finish cooking and they become kind of golden brown on the top. So next time you see them, they'll be ready to eat. All right, here we are, just pulling them out of the oven. You can see how golden brown they are. Let me tilt this pan up a little bit, get a little closer to you here. Man, those look so good. You can see I had one over here rupture a little bit, but you know what? I bet it still tastes good. Man, this is looking good. So the final step that we're gonna do here is we're gonna take a little bit more of our melted butter. We're just gonna brush it right over the top here, just a little bit, give it that nice glaze, and a little bit more butter makes everything a little bit more better. Yeah, man, it smells so good. I can't wait to break into one. We'll let this butter sit on it a little bit longer. Let that presentation build up, and then we'll split one open here in a second for you. Let's dive into one of these bad boys. What do you think? I think this is gonna be delicious. Open that thing up. Oh man, look at that. You can see the different textures that we have in there. You can see that brisket. Man, it looks so good. That cheese melted in there. Let's give this thing a try. Ooh, it's nice and hot too. P-Town, got to get on this. Talk to you soon.